Welcome back, viewers. So the question for today is, are you wasting your toddler's brain or are you boosting it? For those who do not know me, my name is Kelly and this is Teaching for Tots. Before we get started, make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share. Anyone who's a parent, please share it with them. This is great information for them. And if there's anything that you guys were surprised by or you wanted to comment on or you had an opinion on, please share that with me too. Leave it in the drop box down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys and reply. I look forward to reading all you guys' comments and responding back to any questions that you guys might have as well. But let's go ahead and jump into today's questions. So there's 3 things I want to talk about today. One, I want to share with you guys 3 keys to successfully teaching your toddler. Second thing is, I want to discredit all the myths about early education, age restraints, learn through play. I want to discredit all the myths regarding those areas. Lastly, I want to give you guys the perfect time to start teaching your toddlers. So stay tuned to the end of the video so you can get all the juicy details. All right, let's get in it. First thing, 3 keys to successfully teaching your toddlers. First thing and most important key, I feel like, is brain development. In my last video, if you didn't get to watch it, go back and watch it from last week. But I hit on a couple of topics regarding brain development, but I didn't go into depth that time, which I'm going to do today. But people were really surprised. But yes, these are all facts. And if you don't believe me, do the research. It'll back it up. 90% of your child's brain is developed by the time they're at 5 years old and probably headed off to kindergarten. And now, I know that's surprising to a lot of people because kindergarten starts and some kids are 5, but some kids are 6 years old. And so what you're asking yourself is, Kelly, so you're telling me that my 5-year-old or my 6-year-old, their brain is already 90% developed at this time? If not a little bit more because some of them are 6? Yes, that's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that 90% of your child's brain is developed by the time they're 5 years old. And to add to that, 80% of your child's brain is developed by the time they're 3 years old. Now, that's crazy here for us in the U.S. because when you think about it, most kids here in the U.S. do not start school before the age of 3. And 3 to 4 is actually considered early. It's considered early head start or early education. But when you think about the numbers, it's not early at all. It's actually kind of late, to be honest, because 80% of their brain is already developed by the time they're 3 years old. So you've missed 80%, not 50%, not 40%, not 20%. 80% is already developed. And the crazy thing about these developed areas is that kids' brains are sort of like containers. And with containers, if you haven't tried to open that area or you haven't already opened that area or activated that area, some of these areas never get activated or never get open. Now, with different things like tummy time and sensory skills and all that kind of stuff, you can maybe activate an area, but maybe not actually pour into that area, which is what a lot of parents do. We may activate certain areas, while they're babies or while they're toddlers, but we don't actually pour into those areas. And so you still have to think about the fact that now they're 3 or 4 or 5 years old, where 80 to 90% of their brain is already developed, and those areas are not been poured into or not been activated at all. I think that is key. That is key because once you learn that information, especially learning about the brain and how it not just develops, but how it actually works, it's like an instruction manual. It's like, hey, this is what I need to do to activate this area. Hey, this is what I need to do to get my child to do this or have this result. Oh, this is what I need to work on, or this is what I need to introduce them to, or this is what I need to have them try in order to build this part of the brain and really make this part of the brain work and really just set this part of the brain on fire and just have it, sucking up all the energy and sucking up all the knowledge that I can pour into it. Because that's what kids' brains are. They're like little sponges. And they just suck until it pours back out. And it pours out in different ways, like reading, writing, communication, motor skills, like all these different areas. Those are symptoms of it pouring out. And so brain development is definitely number one. It's definitely key. Number two is be intentional. You're going to get tired of me saying that word. My parents in my programs get tired of me saying this word. But it's true. You have to be intentional. Even when it's simple little things that you want your child to work on, and you have to use everyday life to be able to help them work on it, be intentional in everything you have your child do. Whether it be watching a show, whether it be doing a game, whether it be creating flashcards, or whether it be just walking down the stairs. Be intentional. Kelly, what do you mean when you keep saying this word, be intentional? I'll tell you what I mean. Have a goal in mind. Know how to meet that goal and have results in mind. Whether they're written down or you just know what they look like. Have those results in mind. That's what I mean when I say be intentional. So a great example of that is when my son, my youngest son, who's 18 months now, when he was 10 months old, he started walking. Now, at 10 months, he could not walk down the stairs. But he was already walking. And he was taking steps, of course. So instead of me swooshing him down the stairs every morning when he would get up in the morning for breakfast and things of that nature, I would let him count the stairs every single morning. Now, does that take a little extra time? Yes, it does. But I was being very intentional in an everyday, simple thing that we did. So we would count the stairs. We would stop. If we stopped walking or stopped stepping, we would stop counting as well. That's important. I'll bring it up again later. But we would stop counting. And we would do this every day. And when my son started speaking, because at this time when he was 10 months, he wasn't really speaking. He was saying little stuff, but he wasn't really speaking. But by the time he's 15 months old, all the things that I had been pouring in him started pouring back out. And his numbers were one of them. And when he started counting, and I could clearly hear him counting at 15 months, you know what numbers he was counting to and could easily count to? 13, of course. Yes, 13. He can count to 13 because that was one of the main numbers that he knew. Now, after 13, it would get kind of fuzzy because we were working on other stuff as far as counting too. But that was just one of the first things that I introduced to him. And so after 13, he may say 15 or 17 or 20 or something crazy. But 13, he was clear as day. And he understood how to stop at certain numbers. So if we were counting, even as we transitioned from the stairs to maybe picking up toys, he understood, okay, as he's picking up toys, he understood, okay, this is 1, this is 2. It wouldn't be him picking up toys and maybe only picked up 3, but now he's on 5. Right? Because our kids do that sometimes. That's because they haven't learned how to touch count. They are just counting away. And being able to connect the two. And so that's what I mean when I say be intentional. And we'll have different videos that I'll talk about, and I'll go into more depth about, teaching kids how to count and teaching them how to speak and teaching toddlers how to read and, different things like that. But that's just a simple example of being intentional. Be intentional in the things that you're doing with your child. Whether it be feeding them, and while you're feeding them, talking about textures and colors and shapes, or whether it be walking down the stairs or going to the mailbox. Just be intentional in the things that you're doing, because believe it or not, is very important. That is how kids learn songs, and that is how kids learn games and movie lines and theme songs on cartoons, because it's poured into them. And believe me, whatever you pour into them, I promise you, it will pour back out. Eventually, they will overflow, and that brings you back to the brain development. Because as the brain is being developed, some things are being poured into them. But are you using those things wisely? Which brings us back to our question. Are we wasting our toddlers' brains, or are we boosting our toddlers' brains? Now, the last key, and this is the key that most people have trouble with. I'm not going to lie. But it's still a very crucial key. I mean, it's part of the top 3 keys for a reason. But the last key is be consistent. Be consistent. And I know that's hard. It's hard because what happens is you find this information out. You're like, oh my God, my baby's brain is at, my child is 3 years old right now. Their brain is at 80% developed. I got to start working on things. I want to pour this into them. I want to pour that into them. I'm going to be intentional. I have this great idea. There's simple things that we do around the house all the time. I I can be intentional. I can educate them. But you do it for a week, or you do it 2 days and off 3 days, or you do it for 21 days to make it a habit, and then you stop doing it. So you gotta be consistent. I mean, all 3 keys are important. You can't have really one without the other. They're like a foundation and they lay on top of each other. So understand your child's brain is being developed, and it's developing at a rapid pace before they're 5 years old. That's crucial time. Now that you know that, be intentional. Be intentional, be intentional, be intentional. Next, now be consistent in what you're doing. And I promise you will see results. Next thing is, as far as discrediting all of the myths, I hope that information from number 1 really discredited, because there is no such thing as your child is too young. When people say that their child is too young to learn to read or learn their numbers or learn their shapes, that's only because they're not aware of what their brain development is and how kids are sponges and how everything they pour into them will pour back out. They're not understanding that, and they don't have all 3 keys. Because if you have all 3 keys, there's really not an age requirement for the things that a child can do. I mean, my kids personally surprise me every single solitary day. My 11-year-old was reading by the time he was 3 years old. A little after 3, he was reading. He went to kindergarten at 4 years old. Today, he's 11 in the 7th grade. 11 in the 7th grade. My 8-year-old was reading right before he was 3. He was reading right before he was 3 years old, and he wasn't just reading, but he was reading on a kindergarten level. My 2-year-old, my current 2-year-old, he is already reading, which I'm not going to lie, the more that you learn and the more intentional that you are and the more consistent that you can be, because I wasn't as consistent 11 years ago as I am today, it will surprise you. I mean, my 2-year-old is reading, and we'll have videos and I'll be able to show you guys some of the things that I've done with him and show you what he's doing now. And if you know me on Facebook, look me up on Facebook and you can see the videos for yourself. Videos from when he was 1 year old and he already knew his sounds, his letters, his colors, his shapes. And videos to right now when he's 2 years old and he's reading words. So, your kids can do it. My kids are not special. I mean, they're special to me, but they're not special. It's just knowing the ingredients, following the ingredients, and watching the ingredients splurge into a beautiful, beautiful, successful child. That's it. The last thing is, and I told y'all guys, I'll promise I'll give you guys this information. The best time to start with all of this intentional education with your toddler is today. Yes, it's today. You need to start today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till they're 2. Don't wait till they're 18 months. Don't say, well, they're not walking yet, or they're not talking yet, or they're not, communicating effectively yet, or whatever the case might be. They're not too young. You have to discredit all those myths. Now that I've discredited them, you need to get rid of them. Just get rid of them. So when people say, oh, well, your child is only 18 months, that doesn't mean anything. Or when they say your child is only 2 years old, that doesn't mean anything. And you have to remember that even though kids learn through play, which is very true, kids do learn through play, but they don't learn everything they need to know through play. They need that help from you. They need that guidance from you. That's where your intentional part comes from. Because a child can go out and play and maybe activate a little part of their brains. That's very true. But imagine how many more places in their brains can be activated had you guided that direction. Because now you know what needs to be done because you understand the brain development. It all ties back together. It all ties back together. So it's key to make sure that you discredit all these myths. Take them away because they're not real. And make sure that you're focusing on education. And make sure that you're being intentional. And make sure that you're being consistent. And start that today. So that your child can have the best head start that's possible. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure you share. Don't find out good secrets and keep it to yourself. Let everybody else know the secrets, the secret ingredient to successfully teaching your toddlers. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Kiss your brain. Great job. Say, see you on Monday. See you Monday. And make sure you guys are being intentional and consistent. Yes, consistent. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below.